Hush by my baby, slumber tight. Hush by my baby, slumber time is coming soon. Rest your head upon my breast while mama hums a tune. The Sandman is calling, where shadows are falling, while the soft breezes sigh as in days long gone by. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I heard this melody when I was a little baby upon my mama's knee. The old folks were humming, their banjos were strumming, so sweet and low. Hear that mournful melody, it haunts you all day long, and you wander in your dreams back to heaven, it seems, when you hear that old time song humming all day long, and the old folks are playing that same evening song. Oh, hush by my baby, go to sleep on baby's knee. Journey back to these old hills and dreams again with me. It seems like your mama was there once again, and the old folks were strumming that same old refrain. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I learned this lullaby, when the stars were blinking and the moon was climbing high. Seems I hear voices low as in days long ago, singing hush-a-bye.
Oh boy, can it's hot.
It is summertime in the Ozarks.
I'm not a fan of this kind of heat. Um, I much more. I prefer the winter. I prefer the cold. I know. I'm the odd one, and this is why
I like the heat.
This is why I head for Colorado every summer.
That
Because
makes sense.
I just can't take it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun. And but you know what? I mean, we got to have the seasons. There's some things that are all right about summer. I just can't stand. I hate the heat.
One of the many reasons people enjoy the Ozarks, you do get all seasons.
Wait 5 minutes, and the weather will change. The
Yeah.
seasons will change.
Sometimes
You can get them all in one day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, good morning and welcome once again to a fresh season of the Real Estate Geeks, live and in person right here on the internet. You join us now for episode 3 of this season. And we're going to continue our conversation about the commission lawsuits. You may have noticed in episodes 1 and 2, we pushed those episodes back, and we did the same thing with episode 3. It's kind of becoming our modus operandi, mainly because we keep getting new information and new lawsuits keep getting filed. An avalanche of change continues to fall down upon us. And, the big one here is we had the settlements, and then now we've had lawsuits that have been filed to undo those settlements, to block the NAR settlements. And there's a little bit of a, what I'm calling slap dance going on with the NAR and the Justice Department. They're just throwing slaps back and forth. And we've kind of been on that road for a while. And I think that's just going to continue. So without further ado, we are the Real Estate Geeks. I am Brad Gore, managing partner and realtor with the Real Pro team at Reese Nichols.
And I am Ken Milton, managing partner and realtor with the Real Pro team at Reese Nichols. As you may have noticed from our previous episodes, we have updated our format. Once again, friends, we are changing the game in the real estate news entertainment sector, using a new platform, Restream. Restream is our friend now. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can find us at Real Estate Geeks Live on all 3 platforms. So go now, subscribe, like, follow, hit all the buttons you can so you don't miss any more episodes. You'll also notice we're stationary. This is our new place. This is our office here in Branson, Missouri. So I really thought the whole pushing the episodes back was one of those good things come to those who wait type scenarios. And I'd also like to be, the first to announce here that I also am filing a lawsuit in some way, shape, or form with this commission deal because I don't want to be left out. I want to be included.
I want to be included, yeah. I mean, technically we are included because we are members of the National Association of Realtors. And so we're included in all of it, but we're very much
just save me time and money right there.
Right there. But we're very much at the peripheral though, and that's kind of part of it. And as we've discussed, and we're very upfront about it, we're not particularly happy. We do feel kind of thrown under the bus by several of the entities involved. We really believed and hoped that they would fight because we don't agree that these lawsuits have any merit. We think this is just enrichment for a small party, a small group, and that's really all it is. Unfortunately, the big group that was the onus of this lawsuit, the way it's filtering down, the consumers that are part of the class are going to get about $25 a piece, while the attorneys that are involved in it are getting 33 and a third. I don't know. That seems odd to me, but that's just the way it is. I do want to mention, Ken, though, that you and I are very bright today.
Yes.
I came with my this is my Texas flag shirt. These are a little Texas flag. Ken's rocking the pink. Why did we end up bright today? We didn't coordinate that. I mean, we just decided.
No, just happened.
Yeah, this is my new shirt, my new work shirt. I got my logo on it here. See this? See, I'm representing the brand, the real estate, the Real Pro team, and the Real Estate Geeks. So But moving on. Lovely
No,
discussion.
this was the fashion
Yeah,
portion.
this
of the
is the
show,
fashion
folks.
portion of the
So
show.
now we are.
But it's here in the humble Ozark Hills that we begin today's conversation, in which we go wondering. And what are we wondering? It's not where are we wondering, it's what are we wondering? We wonder, what would real estate be like in the US of A if we outlawed agent commissions based on sales price? On our last episode, um, we took a look at what it was like in other countries, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But first things first, I hope everyone took time to listen to that beautiful rendition of the Missouri Waltz. That's kind of our theme song for this season. That was sung by London Lawhon. She's a fantastic singer songwriter, and we chose this song as our theme for a couple of reasons. Frankly, we're all kind of longing for a time that we kind of view as the past. And at the same time, we're preparing ourselves for what the future looks like. So it's not a sad song. It kind of has a somber tone. And I think that's the way many realtors and consumers feel about what is happening in real estate right now and the economy overall. And so that's kind of where we're going to lead into as we wonder around what this country would look like if we set our real estate industry up more like some other major developed countries that we talked about in episode. We talked some about episode one, mostly in episode two. So in our first episode, we did talk a lot about the commission lawsuits. In our second episode, we talked about real estate in other countries and the comparisons that were being made and how some of those comparisons weren't clear. And there was a lot of misinformation out there. By the way, you can find those episodes and all of our past seasons by checking out our Facebook page at Real Estate Geeks Live, on YouTube at Real Estate Geeks Live. There's a theme here. And you can also go to our website, realestategeeks.tv. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That way you'll never miss any of our upcoming episodes, of which there are many. So let's get on to the topic. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked a lot about how real estate works in other countries. For the most part, they are called estate agents. Realtor is a very American term, and it's a term owned by the National Association of Realtors. So you have to be a member of that association to use that term. So outside the U.S., they're called estate agents. And we looked at the two countries, the United Kingdom and Australia, which were cited by proponents of the commission lawsuits and doing away with buyer's agent commissions. They said, "Oh, in these other countries, it works great. They don't charge commission." And what we talked about is they don't charge commission because they're paid a salary. They're employees, and they get some bonus money. They're not independent contractors. They're not self-employed individuals. They work for, by and large, for large, medium-sized to large companies. Of course, in these countries, they also have government-funded healthcare, so they don't need to pay for their own healthcare like we do. They have a much more secure retirement, and they have a lot of social programs that go along with that we don't have here in this country. And so they're employees. And sellers and buyers, for the most part, pay a set fee, or sometimes they pay set fees and small commissions. And those fees are paid to those companies, and they're the individual that's representing them is receiving a salary. So that's where it's pretty different. Another big difference is that they pay those fees, but they pay a lot of other fees. So the sellers pay for their own marketing, they pay for municipal inspections, and that happens before a house is listed for sale or rent. Buyers are going to pay for attorneys, is what we would call them, or solicitors is what they're often called in the UK and Australia. Those solicitors actually write the purchase contract and they do the closing. And those fees we talked about can be thousands and thousands of dollars. So these are all paid by the clientele. and the customer. They're not paid by the estate agent or the company that represents them, by and large. So what if we did that? What if we just said, let's change it and let's ban all commissions, buyer or seller side, based on sales price, and we made realtors employees. And so kind of our topics up for discussion today is kind of going to be a Q&A format. And so the first question we're going to ask is, how much is a realtor worth? What should we get paid? You have any thoughts, Ken?
Well, I think it's interesting, you know, we're not talking about the process, our process versus other, you know, countries. All we're pointing out with that point that you're making there is, if we're going to compare market to market, so to speak, it, you know, tell the whole story of how it's different, but the other benefits, like you said, the pay scale and things like that. So if you're going to really compare apples to apples, you want to try to get as close to apples as you can, and that's not always how it's being laid out.
Well, it's not how it's being presented to
It is,
consumers.
but that piece works. Yeah, that piece does. But what about
Everything.
this piece
What about the whole
and
picture?
the rest of it?
Yeah.
You know, I think. Well, okay, so not sound self-serving. I'm guilty. I sell real estate. I help folks buy and sell. I'm a realtor, member of NAR. But I do believe.
Yeah, you've got a giant blue realtor logo right behind you.
Oh yeah, check that out right there.
Yeah, right there. That's
know,
why it's there.
The point is, I really think that I do believe, as a realtor and advocate for the buyer, the seller, I think that we.
Hey, real quick, stop. I want to point that out, what you're saying. In a lot of these other countries, that word is never used to describe what this industry is. An advocate is a great way to describe it. And we only use that here in this country. You wouldn't go to the UK and say, this is my advocate. You would just say, this is my estate agent. I'm just making the point that that's not how that description comes out outside of the United States, because agency is such a big deal to us. To us too. We want that agency relationship. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we start talking about some of the pieces that have come out. One in particular by Carl Medford about the change in customers and consumers and fiduciaries and functionaries, and we're going to talk about that later.
Interesting change, but you can see it.
Oh yeah, I mean, reading this article that Medford wrote, it's eye opening. It's perspective changing. Mm-hmm. So let me
imagine, like you made the point before. I don't do my own taxes. I don't prescribe my own medicine. There's just things that
I don't represent myself in court. There's a saying about that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just think if you're getting ready to sign on to a very large financial transaction, which typically your home is one, if not the biggest financial transaction you're a part of, having someone there that maybe can smooth out the bumps, can provide you some knowledge, some guidance, and some real benefit would be important to me in my point of view. I'm not saying it just because I am, a part of it. It looks to me that'd be the way to go.
Well, let's look at some of the other professions that we just mentioned. For example, attorneys. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper in this. We brought it up in our previous episode, but the average pay for an attorney in 2023 was $135,000 a year. Now, the top 25% with 10 or more years of experience make $210,000 a year. CPAs, an entry-level CPA, just the average across the board, $73,000. With 10 years of experience, they're making $175,000. Financial advisors, average across the board, $105,000. And with 10 years experience, $185,000. So these are professions that require additional education. And these are professions that require licensing. And by and large, these are professions that are small business. A lot of them are small businesses. A lot of attorneys hang their own shingle out. A lot of CPAs have, small offices where they help people do their taxes. There are also sides to that business where there are attorneys that work for large firms, and then there are CPAs that work for large firms. Financial advisors, same thing. So, and in real estate, it's the same thing. There are real estate agents that work for large firms, and they do corporate real estate, things like that. And then there are agents like us that work for a large firm, but we're selling real estate on the consumer side. And then there are agents that just go hang their own shingle, and it might just be them or a couple of people in their office. So based on what we see here with some of these other similar professions, how much are we worth? What should we make?
Well, there are a lot of similarities. Licensing, continuing education, things of that nature.
Yep.
But at the same point in time, what are you going to tie it to?
Yeah. Here's what I'm really getting at with this is that the averages of all of these professions are well above the average salary in the United States, well above. All three of them with 10 years experience the averages are above, they're high six figures.
Right.
And so the average real estate agent in the United States makes, you don't know what the average, this is the elephant in the room. The average realtor right now reports an income from real estate activity of $38,300 a year. That's well below, less than half of what all three of those positions report.
Well, look at what you're mentioning there. The startup, your CPA is 73, your finance advisor is 105. If you apply the same 10-year scale to that number as to these, you're starting so far back, and you're,
I know. But again, this is another point to talk about, is that it's more difficult to become an attorney, a CPA, or a financial advisor than it is to become a realtor. And that is one of the problems that I think face the industry.
Yes.
And it is one of my pet peeves with our industry, is that many, many years ago, there was a lot of rulemaking going on, and there was lobbying going on to prevent adding additional education or requirements to becoming a real estate agent, which then allows you to become a realtor. But to get a salesperson's license, it's 40 hours worth of classes and a test. To be an attorney, bare minimum 2 years. Most attorneys, it's 3 years in law school. And it ain't easy, and it ain't cheap. CPAs in Missouri, it's 80 hours. It's 2 years, really, of additional. You might as well go get a master's degree, but it's 80 hours of additional education past a bachelor's degree. And they do, there are requirements. It has to be you can't go get a bachelor's degree in veterinary medicine, just go be a CPA. And then after you get all that extra education, then you have to spend 2 years working for a CPA before you can sit for the exam. So you can do taxes, but it's all got to be under somebody else, and then you can go sit for the exam to be a CPA. Financial advisors, it is a lot of education. There's not necessarily a direct requirement like so many hours, but you have to have a degree, bachelor's or master's, in something that falls into the area. And then you have to go take a Series 7. And people have seen the Series 7 on TV. You've watched all the Series 7s. No. Most people fail the Series 7. It's like 80%. It's really high. Fail the Series 7. And most people take a year's worth of extra additional classes just to teach them how to pass the Series 7. Most people. It's not easy. It's too easy to be a real estate salesperson. It's too easy to get the license. And I've advocated in the past that you should have to have a bachelor's degree, just like a CPA does in certain portions. You can't get a bachelor's degree in whatever, underwater basket weaving. It needs to be in financial, or it needs to be a degree in real estate, which there are several of them. In fact, the Kellogg School of Business offers a master's degree in real estate. They offer I don't remember what it's called, but it's a master's program specifically in real estate. That should be a bare minimum requirement. And then I think that you should have to apprentice for 2 years. I think you should spend 2 years under a broker. You have to learn how to do the business. Your broker has to test everything, has to watch everything that you're doing, and then you can sit for the exam. And in fact, In the last 10 years, we've made it even easier to go deeper into real estate because used to you had to have a certain number of years under your belt before you could sit for the broker's exam.
Right.
You don't have to do that anymore. You can take the salesperson's exam and then immediately go take the broker's exam. That blows my mind. Now, Ken, I've told you this theory before. Of course, I don't think it's been written about much, but the reason that they did that is because the more people that have a salesperson's license, the more people that join the National Association of Realtors, the more people are paying dues, the more money that association has. And several of the writers for Inman have wrote about the fact that there is this ongoing belief that there are individuals at the association who are more interested in keeping their jobs than making it more difficult and reducing the number of licensed agents in this country.
Well, the goal should be our services are our product. As an agent,
our time is that's what we sell. Same as an attorney, same as a CPA. Our time our time and access to our expertise. That's what we are here for. Same as an attorney, same as a CPA, same as a financial advisor.
And I think that those are fair correlations that you should, a lot of these people you're talking about, their training is on par with the amount of money or the amount of money they can make. Where as an agent, you can come in
on the nose, man.
You can come in and it's so easy to get in. And I'm not trying to block anyone from getting in. Free enterprise, everybody get involved. That's fine. However, ultimately, think about your customer to consumer to client and how that works and what you're going to be doing for them. Also, look at it this way. Your training is important to you as well because you have legal obligations and you may face legal repercussions if things don't go, the way they should. But no, I think and that's something else too, as we'll talk about later on. A lot of companies are recruiting by number, maybe more so than skill set.
Oh yeah, because because this industry is commission based, this industry has become a numbers game for brokerages. The more people they have, the more relationships those people have, and then have a relationship with that brokerage. And if they can get 500 agents and they only close one transaction a year, what does the brokerage care? Right? The brokerage already has the office space, is already, supporting that agent. If they all do one transaction a year, that's 500 transactions for the brokerage. If they only had 100 people, it'd only be 100 transactions. That's the numbers game that they're playing. But it hurts the industry. If it was more difficult to be a realtor, then there would be more business for the professionals that are doing this full time. And by the way, as you're used to in this show, we have supporting documentation for this, and we're going to get to that. But I'm not going to tell you what I think a realtor is worth. You and I, we have a six-figure salary. That's how much money we want to make every year. As independent contractors, we've got to go out and make it. And if this happened, if they did away with commissions based on sales price, and they said, we're going to hire professionals, we're going to require them to be trained, we're going to require them to do volume, and we're going to give them metrics and KPIs, performance indicators, and we're going to pay them, I would not work for a brokerage. A brokerage would have to pay me $200,000 plus a year to do that, because I'm also giving up all of my free time. And I can tell you, I've talked to a lot of real estate agents about this. And I don't have a problem. I got out of the businesses that you and I were both in because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to pick and choose my clients and who I worked with. I wanted to pick my hours. I wanted to take my vacation when I want. I don't want to ask somebody else. That's me. Some people, that doesn't bother them. It would take a pretty substantial amount of money for me to give that up. Because I believe that's my value, and that is what I can bring to any organization, and that is the level of expertise that I have after 20 years in this business. So I can't tell you. I don't know, because the industry is so skewed because so many brokerages and agents, and I even believe our own association, don't actually value our expertise as much as it should be. They only value our relationships. And if you have one or two, or you bring just a little bit to, you don't have to bring a lot to the table to have value to a brokerage. And I think that's wrong.
No, that's fair.
And that's what I think should change. All right, let's move on to our second thought. We do away with all these commissions, and realtors are paid salary. Real estate agents are paid salary. What services should the consumers pay for, and what services should the brokerage offer to the consumer? Well, if you base it on the UK and Australia, they should pay for everything, and the brokerage should basically offer them nothing because that's what they get. We talked about last time that you list a home, and the largest, I looked up the commission scale and how consumers pay for what they get, and salaries and everything from the United Kingdom. And one of the largest estate agencies in that country, they charge a small percentage fee to sellers who are selling a property, 1%, up to around £1 million value, then it goes to 1.5. And then they also charge a flat fee if you want them to do marketing related things for your home or staging or whatever. And here's how that works. There is, when you sign a contract with these estate agents, it says, I'm going to allow you to sell my home and you're going to represent me and I'm going to pay you 1%. And then that's it. That's what you pay. And then they have a portion of that contract called instructions. That's what it's called. And that is where you sit down with the estate agent that you're going to be working with at this estate agency, and you tell them, I want you to put my home in the newspaper and in this magazine, and I want you to take photography, and I want you to send out flyers. And you check basically all these boxes, the things that you want to do. And every one of those boxes has a number by it, and that's how much you have to pay for that. The brokerage, the agency, doesn't pay for that. And so one of their things was they had these there's a 500-pound option, and one of them was a 30,000-pound option that was even like, we'll get your home put on TV and all this other stuff. And so they have to pay for that. The brokerage doesn't pay for it. It's not included. And it's not, you pay that up front. You sign the contract, you write a check to the agency, and that money's gone. You never get that money back.
Well, I think the brokerage should provide a base level. However, in some instances like this sounds very self-directed by the seller.
Oh, they have to do their own showings too. I forgot to mention that. If somebody wants to look at your home, if you want the estate agency to show up and open the door and show it, every time they do that, some of them it's you just pay a fee and we'll do it, and we put a box on the door or something. But if it's not the agency's own client that's paying them to be there, if it's somebody else, you have to pay for that agent to show up and show that to them. Like one of them I saw it was 250 pounds every time they show up to show your house. If there's not an agreement that buyer is going to pay for that time there. And by the way, on the buyer's side, buyers pay, a lot of them had an upfront fee, and most of the agencies that I looked at, it was 2,500 pounds just to start looking at houses. And then a lot of times there was a fee on top of that if you wanted them to represent you in buying the house. But here's what I found so interesting. It's 2,500 pounds, and I show you a bunch of units that you might be interested in. And then you pick one you like. Okay, well, here's the agent representing the seller. And so you just call them up. What? No, they don't write the contract. Or here's our solicitor. You go to our solicitor and you pay the solicitor to write up the contract. And a lot of them, the solicitor fees were between 1,500 and like 3,000 pounds. And you write that check before work ever begins.
On
I don't know if
the flip side,
consumers here in this country would do that.
See, I think that would be an awfully tough proposition for folks here in this country. I mean, for some folks, the self-directed approach works, but that's something that's not going to work for
And we
everyone.
have that here. It's called for sale by owner. You don't have to pay anybody a dime. You have every at
But
your
then you
home.
have to get into the statistics of what they sell for, the time they sell, compared to ones that have been represented.
Okay, devil's advocate. Let me throw this at you. Why in this country, why is it that if you list it with a real estate agent, why is the house worth more than if you don't? The point I'm trying to make is why shouldn't a buyer's agent that brings a buyer, right? Why is there such a disparity? Because we've seen the numbers. It's something like 25%. And the average depends on who you talk to. I've seen 18 to all the way up to as high as 25%. But there's a gap between what a real estate agent can sell a house for and what a FSBO sells a house for. And as a real estate agent, I say, great, yeah, because I'm better at my job than you are. But let's say we do away with all this commission-based stuff and we do away with all this agency stuff. So I don't represent the buyer anymore, right? Everybody represents the seller because that's how it used to be. Wouldn't that raise prices on for sale by owners to be basically even? They have representation now, so shouldn't I be able to say, okay, well, here you go. Here's what the house is worth, and here's what you should put it on the market for. The reason they sell for higher prices is because of the MLS. That's why. There you go. There it is. There's the secret.
Like any other product, the more people look at it.
The more people that look at it, the more people that are interested in it, the more it's worth. It's supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
And if we say the MLS is the only supply and we control the MLS, I'll let you make your own determinations. But there's a case to be made for the market value of a property not being set by the MLS and it being set by the market. So there's two different markets. There's the market of homes that are for sale, all of them. There's the market that are homes for sale in the MLS.
True.
Abstract concept, but worth mentioning because it does affect the way that representation is done in this country. So what services should a broker offer and what will consumers pay for? Honestly, in this country, I believe that consumers will not pay individually for anything. I just don't think they'll do it. It will take generations for that to change.
Right.
And it would take legislation to say, we don't care if you don't like it. It's the only way it's allowed to be done.
Well, I see.
If you give consumers the choice will be, I'm not going to pay for that. No matter whether it's A or B. B could be, you pay me a lot more, but I pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or A, here, you could pay me a lot less, but you got to write the check today. They're going to go over here. That's consumer mentality in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of talked about this. Should realtors be required to get the same level of education and training required by CPAs, financial advisors, and attorneys? Of course, I've already answered that question. Yeah, I believe they should. I think that we have 1.5 million members in the NAR. It's extrapolated that there's something like 2 million people actually in the industry. Based on how the percentage of this country, how many attorneys we have, how many CPAs we have, which we talked about attorneys, there's about 700,000 CPAs, something like 500,000 financial advisors, something like 1 million. We should have about 750,000 realtors. We have almost 3 times as many realtors as we need.
Well, okay, but now what you're talking about there, your CPAs, your attorneys get paid an hourly rate.
Yeah, but by and large, so yes, CPAs, attorneys, things like that. If you hang your shingle out and you say, this is me, I'm an attorney, and I charge $300 an hour, that's what you charge. If you work for a big firm, though, your firm sets the rates, and your firm does the billing. You work with that client. You don't actually ever send that client a bill.
No, you just turn in billable hours and they go from there.
Yeah, so it would work the same way in real estate. You could say, I'm a real estate broker, and my office is just me, and maybe I have a secretary, something like that, administration person, whatever. And you could say, you can do anything you want. If, like us, you work for a large brokerage, that large broker is going to say, okay, so now that we've done away with commissions and we don't negotiate commissions anymore, you just make a salary and here's our menu of services. Here you go, Mr. Client, pick what you want. Well, I don't want any of this. Well, you don't have a choice. That's what we charge.
Or the next question.
Well, I'm
I
going to
don't know what to
negotiate
do.
that. No, there's no negotiating. That's what we charge. Here's my broker's phone number if you want to call him. Here's the owner of the company, president, CEO, because I don't make that decision.
Yeah, you get into the, but I don't know what to pick. Or, like you said, well, I want option A and B, but C, D, and E, I don't want that. Well, but it's all part of the bundle.
Yeah. Or you can pick this and this, but not this. I mean, who knows? It could go anywhere. But again, I think the point that we're trying to make is that it's the consumer choice. If we do away with commissions altogether and we take that out, the consumer choice does not get better; it gets worse.
Agreed. Because when they need help or some direction, some people can they navigate this no problem. But there are, by and large, a lot of folks, especially first-time buyers, things like that, that they're excited, but they need a little help.
They need help.
And I don't think we should penalize those folks.
I don't either.
Try to charge
And certainly
them
not $300
money
an
that
hour.
They ain't got
Yeah.
to move toward it.
Yeah. Okay. So before we close this out, I had mentioned Carl Medford. And I mentioned Mr. Medford because he wrote an op-ed opinion piece for Inman. And this was back in April, kind of when things started really rolling on what's going on in our industry. And I just want to bring it up, and I want to have a short discussion about what he wrote here because it's going to prep us for next week. So next week, we're going to talk about two things. Next week, we're going to talk about the Consumer Federation of America's report done by Stephen Brobeck in January. And I'm gonna just kind of show you what it is here. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the specifics of real estate agents and what the industry as an agent actually looks like and how it affects consumers. And we're going to talk about another article on Inman that we've talked about before by Andrea Brambilla. What she found was that in 2023, 49% of agents sold one home or none at all.
Might be hard to make the bills.
Let's just say half of all agents sold one home. So there are 2 million people practicing real estate. 1.5 million of them are members of the NAR. So let's just extrapolate on the low end that 750,000 homes were sold. And the agent that sold them, that was the only home that they sold. 750,000. That's 750,000 agents that should be gone from the industry.
Regardless of
and we're going to talk about why.
You can't make that work.
No. That's not an income, that's not a job. And the other thing that we're going to talk about is Mr. Inman of Inman News. Also, he wrote a little article. And I've got to tell you, we use a lot of information from Inman, and most consumers don't have access to this because you have to pay. But that's one of the reasons we use it is because it's really legit real estate reporting, and it's this whole Brad Inman's whole focus of what he does is on real estate. And Brad Inman, in March of this year, wrote an article, and the article was called "Apologize" and 17 other common sense ways to begin reforming the National Association of Realtors. And we're going to talk about all 17 of his points. So that's the last 3 episodes of this season. We have 3 episodes left after this one. We're going to talk about the real specifics, what actually is going on in the real estate industry for realtors. And I think it's important for consumers to understand this stuff because this is how you understand what's actually going on in the real estate industry. If you're a homeowner, you should be interested in this stuff.
Very much.
But first, there's a but first. We're gonna put a but first. I wanna talk about Carl's article, "Bad Reputations: 3 Shifts That Cloud the Public's Perception of Agents." And here's the thing: we're going to the news desk. Okay, this is not an in the news segment. As we've said, in the news, and we'll talk about this before we end here, is they'll all be coming back when we move to our new studio, which is currently under construction. I'm talking about these things just specifically because they're getting to the core of what's happening in the industry and how real estate is going to change in this country, whether we want it to or not.
And this will affect you if you have a house.
If you are a homeowner or you want to be a homeowner, you need to know this stuff. The more you know.
Seems like I've heard that slogan somewhere before.
Well, on public television, when we were kids.
True.
Yeah. So this article is just talking about some changes in the consumer mindset that I think all 3 of them are negatives, but they're being reported by the media way wrong. The media is sensationalizing things that are unimportant to what's going on, and they're trying to make this into something that it's not. So the first one, consumers in general are evolving from customers to consumers. Customers to consumers. Customer loyalty used to be a thing, and I'm quoting from the article here. Customer loyalty used to be a thing. But over the years, we have transitioned from being customers, buying what we needed, to consumers, buying what we want. Now, why is that so negative? Well, it's so negative because we are changing from having relationships with people to having relationships with goods. A significant downside to this transition from customers to consumers has been a move away from relationships. So consumers are no longer buying homes based on what they actually need. We're propelled by what we want. We have FOMO, a fear of missing out, and we are addicted to the Joneses. We're addicted to trying to keep up with the Joneses. And for this reason, right, in order to entice buyers to look at our listings, we work with sellers to upgrade, stage, and enhance so that it no longer just meets the needs, but stimulates the want. We'll never get away from that. I don't believe we will ever get away from that.
Who doesn't like the thought of new, exciting, flashy?
But it doesn't serve the consumer. It only raises prices. And I'm not the only one, and I'm not the first one, but I'm in the group that the prices that home buyers are seeing today are still artificially inflated by the FOMO, the fear of missing out, that hit this country during COVID. And it led, the decisions that were made led to the recession that we're in now. And don't let anybody fool you. We are in a recession. We're in the heart of it. It hasn't hit yet. It's going to, even when they start lowering rates. Home prices and the real estate market, no one is in a good place right now. Home prices are falling and interest rates are still too high and consumers can't buy. And even when the rates come down, there's no inventory. And that will artificially inflate prices, and it will hurt home sellers and home buyers, because home sellers won't be able to sell because buyers can't buy at the prices that home sellers want for their homes, because wherever they're going, the prices are probably higher.
I think inventory and pricing inventory is one of the things that's getting overlooked a lot. A lot of people are so focused on, well, but when the interest rate comes down, I've seen house prices drop a little bit, and it's just going to be this buffet of homes, and that's just not it. Now, in some areas,
It's an empty buffet, man.
Yeah,
All that's left on the buffet is the banana pudding cups,
and that one biscuit that everyone's passed over.
one dry biscuit, and the nasty looking, probably made from Kool-Aid, red and green. You know what I'm talking about, right? That Jello is it's congealed, man. You can't just get one piece of Jello. You stick the spoon in there, and the entire thing comes out. That's all that's left.
Some places in the country, yes, this is going to work the way folks are hoping, but by and large, there's still an inventory shortage, and that's the one thing I don't think people understand. You're going to be in a position of, here's my rate, I've got some money. Oh, what do I buy?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. The transition from service-based to commodity-based.
This is important.
These two, customer to consumer, we can work around, but these last two of the three, we can't. Somewhere along the line, our society has transitioned from being service-based to commodity-based, with service no longer anticipated. We focus on securing commodities in its place. When an item is viewed as a commodity, buyers are only shopping for price. I really like, and I'm just going to read this quote in the article, and I think Mr. Medford has hit it on the nose. Read up a little bit on economics. It's worth your time. Ludwig von Mises, who was a member of the Austrian School of Economics, warned of this trend in 1949. So we were already seeing this happen 70 years ago.
This didn't pop up overnight a couple of years ago. This is not a COVID issue.
And I want to read this, and it's very much, the language is very much from the 1940s. This paragraph, the entire paragraph, is an insult. It's not a compliment. It is an insult to consumers. The consumers patronize those shops in which they can buy what they want at the cheapest price. They, meaning the consumers are merciless bosses, full of whims and fancies, changeable and unpredictable. For them, nothing counts other than their own satisfaction. They do not care a whit for past merit or vested interests. If something is offered to them that they like better or that is cheaper, they'll desert their old purveyors. In their capacity as buyers and consumers, they are hard-hearted and they are callous, without consideration for other people. My heart hurts reading that. 70 years ago, this man is saying that consumers are hard-hearted and callous. Wow. Think about that as a commentary on where we're at today. I might shed a little tear for this country, because I agree. We run into it all the time. We go in, and Ken, we are really good at what we do. And the people that work with us come out happy, and either with the home they wanted at a price they wanted to pay, and terms they wanted to pay, or selling a home and moving on to that next part of their life. And it's positive.
Exactly.
And I say it a lot. There is nothing wrong with busting ass and working hard. I say that a lot. And we go in and we talk to people, and we just had one. We went to a listing. We already had an agreement in place. We had already done work to help this individual get this home on the market, which they live 1,000 miles away from here. And they flew in, saw we had helped get a tenant out of the property, and things like that, and clean the property up. And we sit down and ready to sign a listing agreement. We already had it agreed. We already told them this is what we charge and this is what we do. And they sit down and they said, "Oh, I've heard all of it. I'm not going to pay you more than 1%." And we said, "No, we already have an agreement at this price. We'd like to get the house listed." "No, I'm not going to pay you anything. You're not. We're but," and just told us that he'll find somebody that'll pay what he's willing to pay, even if he even said that, even if it's too low.
That should be a scary thought right there.
You get what you pay for. And I've said that before too. And I'd like to mention that individual, as of today, still hasn't listed that house for sale because nobody's going to accept that. I get it. And anybody that would is not going to give him what he wants because he still wanted professional photography, Matterport 3D scans, floor plans built, websites. He wanted all the services that we offer, which were full service. I don't do anything halfway. He wanted all that stuff included and didn't want to pay the price because he's shopping for price only. And you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for.
Value is not necessarily the cheapest dollar amount.
I tell people this a lot. If I want to buy a Rolex, I don't go to Family Dollar.
I do, but I still never found one there.
Well, if you did and you bought it at Family Dollar, do you think it's a Rolex?
Is that back to value versus lowest price?
Maybe. The third and final one that we're going to end with is the shift from fiduciary to functionary. So again, I'm going to quote from the article. This is a quote that Medford pulled out of the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. "A real estate broker who becomes an agent of a seller or buyer, either intentionally through the execution of a written agreement or unintentionally by a course of conduct, will be deemed a fiduciary. A fiduciary's duties are the highest duties known to the law. Examples of fiduciaries are trustees, executors, and guardians. As a fiduciary, a real estate broker will be held to the law to its own certain specific duties to his principal, in addition to any duties or obligations set forth in a listing agreement or other contract of employment. These duties include loyalty, confidentiality, disclosure, obedience, reasonable care, diligence, and accounting. Those are the responsibilities of a fiduciary."
Now your ears should perk up. This is something you should be listening to.
Unfortunately, along with the changes and shifts mentioned above, there's been a shift among real estate agents as they have morphed from fiduciaries to functionaries. And here's where the Consumer Federation of America's report comes into play. One of the complaints levied by the CFA is that a glut, I love that word, a glut.
There you go.
A glut of part-time agents has led to what, Ken? I'm going to let you say the words. What has it led to?
Experience.
Widespread incompetence. They're not just saying some of these people are idiots. That's one thing. They're not just saying a few people. They're saying widespread incompetence.
The numbers are not in our favor on skilled versus less skilled agents.
Stephen Brobeck, CFA senior fellow, in his report that we're going to dig into next week or in a few weeks. That's our MO now. When we get into it, the residential real estate industry is truly a part-time industry with most agents working sporadically and holding another job, often full-time. There is no other financial service industry or profession where part-time marginal workers are so ubiquitous. If you don't know what that word means, look it up. Ubiquitous means everywhere.
So you just sign on to
everywhere
with your house when they're not working one or two other part-time jobs.
And I like how Medford puts it, reading between the lines. It could be said that some agents are no longer functioning as fiduciaries and they are also doing a poor job of being functionaries. A poor job of being functionaries.
Well, that just brings up the whole conversation we've had many times before about transaction-based or relationship-based. And this is showing you the focus moving away. And that's a problem.
What are we going to do, Ken? What are we going to do?
We're going to ride this out, and we're going to keep providing top-level service.
Okay.
Because we're not part-time.
This is all we do. And you know, we do this show whether somebody's watching or not, right? And typically nobody watches this show. Not until we put it out there and we send it out, and then people watch it after the fact. We do it live. One of the reasons we do it live and we tape it and then we put it out there later for people to watch, or we boost it and people get interested in it, or people that are friends on Facebook and YouTube, whatever. But we do it live because we want you to understand that we're not editing out just to give you the parts that are positive. We're trying to give you a complete picture. And we feel like that's important, which is why the next 3 episodes that we're going to end this season with, leading up to our move to our new studio, we're going to focus on a lot of negative stuff.
Don't tell them that, they'll watch.
But I think you should. And I think though these next 3 episodes, I think, are the most important episodes, because we're going to talk about this report and what it means. We're going to talk about Brad Inman's statement on what needs to be done with this industry. And we're going to talk about why all those things are important.
We want you informed. This is something that's going to affect you one way or the other.
So, in closing, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and continues to be a lot of misinformation out there. So I'm going to throw an idea at you. Talk to your real estate professional. Ask them what it all means. If you don't have a real estate professional, call us. 417-243-0808. We'll pick up the phone. We're happy to help. We're also happy to tell you we're going to be digging deeper and deeper into this, and far more granular and deeper. And so we're going to get down to some of the negative stuff very quickly. So you can watch on the socials and Facebook. Our next show date and time will be posted probably sometime next week. You can also find us on everything at The Real Estate Geek Lives, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can see past episodes of this show.
Well, despite the potential negative connotations that might be coming up, you might be asking, where are the fun, shorter segments? Well, don't worry, the sold house, expanded coffee reviews, and in the news, special guests, all these fun things will return when we move to our new studio over the summer. Now, while this show is live, we'll have a series of tape and edited shorts available later this year as well. You have a lot of options to choose from because we do a lot of great things.
And we like to give you options. So
options are good.
We've got a little bit over time.
Information can be dangerous too.
Information can be dangerous. So we've got a little bit over time. So we're going to end it here with you. And we hope you watch our next episode. We start digging into some of the more negative things that we're seeing out there. So that's our show for today. And we will see you next time on the Real Estate Geeks Live.